Alright, I'm going to show you how I made these hair barrettes out of plastic spoons making this style of flower. What you will need is 8 spoons of the color that you want your flower. I'm going to do this one in navy blue. And also you will need 1 fork. You will need a candle, something to light your candle. You'll need a hair barrette. And you may or may not need scissors. It all depends. And if you have any problem following my tutorial or the how-to here, there are plenty on YouTube that you can also check out. Alright, let's get started. First, you will need to heat up your spoons over the flame. Be sure not to get too close to the flame because you don't want it to burn a hole through the plastic and you don't want it to catch on fire or cause black scorch marks. So you want to hold it roughly a ½ inch to an inch above the flame. And you just need to let your spoon get hot, and we're going to form the petals. So this takes a little bit of time, and please be careful. I don't want you to burn yourself because this does get really hot. If you need to, wear some heat resistant gloves to help you out. Alright, so now it's loose. I'm going to start shaping my petals of my flower. Alright, now that I got a shape that I could deal with, right here on the neck of the spoon, we're going to want to heat that up over the flame. Because we're going to separate the spoon from the handle. And when it starts heating up, the spoon is going to end up bending from the weight. Just give it some time. Alright, and then I'm going to flip it over to heat up the other side and then pull it apart. And there's my first petal to my flower. Now you want to do this with all 8 spoons. So go ahead and do all 8 spoons. Okay, now that all 8 of our spoons are melted, we're going to start building our flower. So the bottom tier is 5 spoon petals. So to start it out, we're going to need to heat up 2 petals together. Just warm them up. Of course, it always takes time melting the plastic. But you're going to need to make a star shape out of petals. So let's begin by forming your star. Okay. So the first 2 petals are together. And just continue around to connect 5 petals together to form your base layer. Alright, so there's my base of my flour. It's okay if it's not perfect. No flour is perfect. The more misshapen it is, sometimes the better. Alright, so now we're going to work on the inside and start adding our petals on the inside. We got 3 left. Just figure out where they would look the best and begin placing them inside your flower. In this layer, when you're putting them in, you don't want them to lay flat. You want to make sure that they're slightly elevated from the layer below. It gives it more dimension. Careful because it is hot. And try to make sure that you put them around over the seams. So there's my flower. Oop, there's the camera. Kind of see it. Alright, I'm going to put this to the side, and now I'm going to work on the centers of the flower, and I'm going to use a fork. So you want to heat up this section of the fork, and it's the thickest part, so it's going to take a bit to heat it up. But we want to be able to bend this completely around to form the center, and it can be kind of difficult to do this, and it is going to be hot, so please be careful. Alright, I'm going to use the table to try to help it bend it around. And can you see there? You can see that I had bent it around. Now we're going to heat up these pieces, and while we're heating them up, we're going to form them in however way you would want to make them look. There really is no right or wrong. You can make them curly, zigzaggy, swirls, corkscrew. I don't know. It really doesn't matter. You could do whatever it is that you want, that you think would look cool inside the center of your flower. And you might have to hold it a little bit once you get it into the shape you want. As you can see, I made this one kind of a spiral. And then just move on to the next one. There is no right or wrong. It's just about having fun. And while you're heating the other ones, the ones that you did do will move a little bit. Just kind of play with it and getting it back to where how you would like it to look. And you might have to hold a little bit so it'll cool and set in. Alright, so now I got my weird looking curly Q center. Now you want to heat it up right about here, if you can see, right in this area, because that's where we're going to want to pull it apart. And flip it over a little bit and heat up the other side and then pull it apart. Now we're going to want to try to heat this whole end up as much as possible. and we're going to want to stick it right into the center of our flower and hold it into place. See, now our flower has a center. And once it cools, it's not going anywhere. Alright, now take your barrette, and we're going to have to heat. Ooh, if I can catch it all here. We're going to use the end of one of our spoons, and we're going to cover the barrette with it. Now, I'm not perfect at this by any means, but you heat up one end of the spoon, the stem of the spoon. Alright, so I'm going to take my barrette and put it into the curve and then push it down. It's hot, be careful. I'm going to kind of crimp it around to hold the barrette into place. Okay, so as you can see, I folded it over. Now I need to heat up this end now. Now as you can see, this is actually a little bit too long, so I'm going to have to cut a piece off of it. Alright, I'm going to use the table, and I'm going to fold the plastic up and over the end of the barrette. And of course it cooled off on me, so I need to heat it up some more. Use the table while you're warming it up and pushing it down to help form the barrette, the plastic around the barrette, because the barrette is curved. Now it is just a little loose, so I'm going to heat up the plastic a little bit to help form it around my barrette a little bit more. So when it cools, it'll cool to the shape of your barrette. Alright. Okay, as you can see, it is on. Now, to affix your flower onto your barrette, you're going to want to heat up the underside. Alright. And once it's heated up pretty good, you want to just stick it onto your barrette. And there you go. Now your flower is on your barrette. And that's how you make a flower using spoons, making a hair barrette. It's pretty simple, and they're fun.